Yo guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with episode 22 of our Reddit series, and I somehow have the feeling that you're gonna enjoy these. But before we dive right in, I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody who's watching my videos, subscribing, liking, commenting. We have almost reached 1000 subscribers, and without you that would have been impossible. So without any further ado, let's get annoyed at some entitled parents. Entitled mom lets kid invade my personal space, but it's okay because I'm disabled. What the hell is wrong with people? I thought that learning to respect other people's personal space was something that happened early on in primary school. It seems like adults and children alike have somehow managed to avoid these life lessons and are running around being inconsiderate little a-holes. I don't leave my house much because I have a physical disability and PTSD from the accident that caused it, so I would rather not have to deal with people when I work from home. But every now and then I like to go for a limping walk to the little Thai place down the street and treat myself after finishing case notes or writing copies. Today just so happened to be my unlucky day, as there was a mom with 3 kids who were between 2 and 7 years old, I think, ordering ahead of me. No big deal, I assume she's going to order and then sit down with the kids so I can choose a seat on the opposite side of the small hole in the wall place. But I have no such luck. They take forever getting their drinks, and then at the behest of the oldest child, which comes and sits down at the table right next to me. I'm used to people being jerks, pointing and staring, or even randoms trying to pray for me. Because I have an exoskeletal brace, since my ankle is mostly arthritis, necrosed bone and metal plates. It looks pretty cool, and while it's a pain in the ass to put on, I'm very glad I have it. However, kids apparently think that it's a toy. I haven't even gotten my meal yet when the little entitled kid is staring so hard at me that I'm really starting to get creeped out. Then the little kid asks, "What happened to your leg?" Now I can be an ass sometimes, especially when adults who should know that this is not an appropriate thing to ask a person with a disability, but he's a kid who probably hasn't seen something like this before, so I gently try to tell him. That is generally not something you should ask a complete stranger, it is not polite.
"Oh, just tell him,"
the entitled mom on her phone scolds. Are you kidding me? You're scolding a 31-year-old woman for not telling your kid about my own private medical history? You annoying little crotch goblins aren't entitled to anything. So now I'm pissed and I popped off. Well, did you drive here? Yeah, that's our car. The other kid points out the window. You better don't wreck on your way home or school or something, because that's how my leg got crushed. I tell them, watching as their eyes widen in horror. The mom shoots me a nasty look, but I just shrug my shoulders. You asked, I said. I figured that they would move to a different table, so I tuck into my amazing noodles, chicken latna for the win by the way, while trying to shrug off the ignorance, but not 5 minutes in, the kid is all up in my personal space again and tries to tug on the straps on my leg. His sibling right next to him is trying to touch the carbon fiber struts, and I don't exactly have the best reaction, so I nudge them away from me rather roughly. One of the kids starts to cry, and the other one is incredulously asking me how it works and if I would take it off and let him try. The mom is glaring at me and tells me,
"You could be nice and show them how it works, they're just kids."
I lose my temper, and not my proudest moment, but with PTSD anger seems to be my most common response to being startled or cornered. I'm not your damn introduction to the world of disabilities, you cow. Keep your damn kids on a leash and you wouldn't be paying the 10k to replace my leg if they broke it, would you? It's a medical device and not a goddamn toy. So now I'm at home, finally enjoying my Thai food in peace, but still fuming and at the same time being completely baffled. I mean, who the hell thinks it's okay to let their kids try and crawl all over a stranger? Also, the lack of understanding surrounding treating people with disabilities with respect is apparently not a thing either. Even as a small child, I knew that my grandpa's walker was a medical aid, and while it looked kind of neat, I couldn't play with it because it was not a toy. These are not difficult concepts, and yet parents don't bother to teach their kids how to behave appropriately in public anymore. Well, at least the lunch tasted good. Yeah, on one hand, it is just a kid, but as a parent you definitely have the responsibility to teach your kids that you should respect people with disabilities especially. Self-entitled, aggressive mothers. I was yelled at and sworn at by a woman today because I wouldn't let her have the parking space that I pulled into, so she desperately needed it because she has 2 kids in the back. So here's the lowdown. Bear with me, it's quite long. Yesterday afternoon I had been in the parking lot for about 10 minutes waiting for a space to become available, and in the process had become stuck down a very narrow path because the original space I had aimed for was too narrow. I didn't want to risk opening my door on someone else's car. Eventually I noticed a man walking back to his car and seized the opportunity as he started reversing. I had my indicator on, so he knew I was going into his space. Anyway, I pull into his space and this woman pulls up alongside me and claims she's been waiting for ages for that space. Although I didn't see her before. I also don't see how she could have been waiting ages since the man literally just walked to his car and there were no people in the parking lot when I entered. Only empty, parked cars, so I had definitely been waiting longer than her. Anyway, this woman starts going on about how she has 2 kids in the back and that she needs to get the pram out. Now, I'm not someone who inconveniences people for fun. I'm actually a very polite person who cannot handle confrontation, but the woman was speaking to me in such an abrasive and self-entitled rude manner that I did not much feel like helping her out. The only thing that I said to her was that there are spaces over there, while pointing to the other side of the parking lot, which I couldn't get to because I had been stuck down the lane. Anyway, she kept ranting and raving, so I simply put my windows up and ignored her. I got my stuff together and got out of the car, and just then she says,
"You're selfish, do you know that? You're really selfish."
I didn't reply to this and maybe just raised my eyebrows and kept silent, which, in hindsight, probably annoyed her even more, because as I walked off, she shouted,
"Stupid fat twat."
This upset me greatly, and she didn't know me and I had never been verbally attacked before in this manner. Like I said, I'm not a very confrontational person. The words have stuck with me since I'm actively trying to lose weight and I have a complex about my appearance as it is. Although I'm not morbidly obese or anything, I'm just a little softer around the edges, you know. Anyway, I went about my shopping as quickly as possible, but I was shaking the whole way as she spoke to me in such an aggressive way over a parking space that I thought she might have hopped out of her car and physically attacked me. The bottom line is, had she simply asked me in a polite manner or even just spoken to me like a normal human being instead of barking at me, I would of course have given her the space. I know unloading kids must be difficult. But what would she have done if the guy who had parked there before me hadn't left? She would have had to park elsewhere anyway, and never mind the fact that I had been definitely waiting longer for a space than her, having arrived long before she did. I'm sick and tired of parents, mostly mothers, entitled mothers, who think that they deserve special treatment just because they made the choice to have children. Some people think their kids put them on par with people who have disabilities as far as right of way or special treatment goes. I cannot count the times I've been rammed in the leg by a pram because they are too important to say, "Excuse me." Why should I inconvenience myself by waiting even longer just so she can have her way? A parking space is no reason to personally insult someone, maybe in the car to yourself, sure, who hasn't done that? But to someone else's face? Or am I wrong here? I think you're not wrong here at all, to be honest. There's never really a reason to personally insult someone. Also, I'm sure she's a great role model for her kids, because the kids will see that obviously if you don't get what you want, you can just try to verbally assault people instead of talking to them normally. It's my candy. This happened yesterday as I was sitting on a bus and I just really feel like ranting. So I was going home from the shopping mall, sitting at the window seat. There's no seat in front of me, but a plexiglass and then an area for strollers and some seats that you can pull down if you want to sit. I had bought some artisan chocolate to treat myself for getting into the school that I wanted to go to. At the next stop, a mom with 2 small kids boards the bus and they come sit at the stroller area. I noticed the kids due to them being rowdy, but I just upped the volume on my phone, continuing to munch on my chocolate. I start to hear whining through my earphones and I look up. The 5-year-old kid is reaching over the plexiglass to try and grab my chocolate. I gasp a little and I say, "No, this is mine." I pull out my other earphone and tuck the chocolate in its wrapper. The kid looks angrily at me and starts wailing. That's when the mom notices her kid and stops looking at her phone. She locks eyes with me and starts huffing that I should give the chocolate to both of her kids. Because apparently I am being rude because I eat right in front of them and it's my fault that he's misbehaving. I am looking at her, but I don't respond due to being very shocked at her words. Yes, I understand it can be considered rude, but I don't even know this family and she expects a total stranger to hand her kids candy. What if I was sick or I have herpes or something, which I don't, but still. She tries to keep the now screaming boy in her lap, but he's doing that annoying whole body rigid thing and is not calming down, but screaming, "Candy, candy!" She looks at me again and says,
It's just chocolate. You can get another one anytime. Give the chocolate bar to my kid. It's your fault.
Okay, maybe I would have caved in if I had eaten most of the bar or if it was a cheap one, but this one was a beautiful artisan chocolate bar and I had only eaten like one piece. I could feel myself getting very annoyed and she held her hand like it was a given. I would do what she wanted. That was it. I said in a determined voice that this is my candy and I have no obligation to give into her kid's tantrum and she shouldn't either. I notice that it's my stop, so I push the button and start collecting my things. With both kids now screaming, she has this shocked look on her face as I leave my seat and get off the bus. Immediately afterwards, I felt a bit guilty. But when I got home, I was proud that I held my ground and that I did not let an EM get her way. I find it incredible how polite the OP was in this story. That's a good way to handle an EM in a real life situation. Alright guys, that was all the Entitled Parents for today. If you have watched this far, please consider to like the video and subscribe to my channel, because I'm noticing that I get a lot more views than I have subscribers. Anyway, for today's bonus content, we will once again take a look at r/church drama. Bible camp counselors tried to publicly humiliate female campers. I want to preface this by saying that I loved the camp I went to for many years. It was a Bible camp, but had a lot of regular fun camp experiences. I grew up Christian and stuck very close to the rules at that time. I was as prudish as you can imagine. For many years, this place was a healing ground for my spiritual fire and commitment to God. That changed my last year of camp when I was around 16 or 17. I was so psyched for my last year of camp, I was too old to continue because I had so many friends that came back every year. All of us campers by this time had hit puberty and some had significant others and so on. They had rules around dress code, areas boys and girls could be in communally and so on. That's fine, I understood that. The first few days of camp were normal and I had fun. I didn't become angry until the camp counselors and the leaders started trying to crack down harder on smaller things. I am a tall woman at 6 feet and I got talked to every day about my short length. We were required to have thigh-length shorts. What might have been a good length on petite women was shorter on me. My legs, as I had sprouted like a weed that year, were the longest part of my body. I had to wear all basketball shorts to comply, and when you're 16, you feel like the resident slob that is never able to change into some cute jeans shorts. Self-image was a huge concern of mine, as I had some cute guy friends at camp that I was close with. It hit my self-esteem, but if I didn't, they would pull me out of an activity to go change. I rolled with this rule. The next day, me and my best friend went down to the lake and we weren't allowed to wear bikinis because it was inappropriate. You had to wear a one-piece or put a tank top on over your bikini. We chose the latter and grumbled, but were fine with it. It was just the two of us and we swam out to those water trampoline things. It was a blast. However, we weren't out 10 minutes and got radioed back by the counselor at the dock. They said we could not swim because guys were out there looking at us bouncing on the trampoline. We were both mad, but our own counselor took their side and said that our tank tops were too tight. Couldn't have had anything to do with wet clothes, right? The final straw happened about halfway through camp. We had separate men and women's chapel one night. Most of the lessons centered on sexual modesty and how to be a pleasing woman of God. In our chapel, the female counselors said that they had a complaint from some of the male counselors. They were bothered by girls going around in short shorts and sport bras. They complained that they were having perverse thoughts that made them feel guilty. Mind you, the men got to run around and swim shirtless. They even gave us Bible passages, including one that stood out to me about how it's better to have a millstone tied around your neck and be thrown in a lake, to paraphrase, than to cause your fellow Christians to deviate from God. They said at group chapel that night that we, all the camp females, were going to be made to go up on our stage and collectively apologize for making our brothers in Christ stumble. I was furious. I told my friends that I could be labeled the camp whore, but I was not going to get up and apologize for my body giving someone perverse thoughts. I also had, and do have, crippling social anxiety. I hated getting up in front of people for the simplest of reasons. I was not going to be publicly shamed. Thankfully, it never got that far. I think some of the female campers who snuck their phones in got a hold of their parents, and the uproar must have been massive because the counselors backed out of that plan very quickly. My parents were among the angry when I told them after I got home. They knew I was incredibly modest and they were very strict about clothes, and my mom helped me pick out my summer shorts for camp to ensure their length. So in the end, we weren't humiliated publicly, but it left a bad taste in my mouth from what was supposed to be my last amazing year at camp. It used to be my spiritual haven, but my faith in the church community was irreversibly shaken after that. Okay guys, I don't really want to get into a huge argument about how wrong it is to blame women for a certain way they dress just because it makes men horny or something. But I gotta say that sometimes these church drama stories actually make me more agitated than the entitled parents stories. Please let me know if you want to hear more of r/church drama or if I should mix things up a little bit. If so, please give me some more recommendations on what subreddit I should dig into. But until then, thank you so much for watching my videos, and see you tomorrow with the next daily upload. Have a good one.